It's unbelievable, really. Wow.
Well, we talked about it before, power corrupts, and absolute power absolutely corrupts, to steal a phrase from Spider-Man.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
There you go, Ann.
WrestleMania as the champion this year. Lesnar the strong, the big man.
What a clubbing blow by Lesnar.
I think it's a joke, sir. Like Siliosaurus or Biggest Dicker, sir. What's funny about Biggest Dickus? Well, it's a joke name, sir. I have a very great friend in Rome called Biggest Dickus. Silence! What is all this insolence? You will find yourself in gladiator school very quickly with rotten behavior like that. Can I go now, sir? Ah! Wait till Biggest Dickus hears of this. Wait! Take him away! Oh, sir, No, I want him fighting rabid wild animals within a week. Yes, sir. Come on, you. I will not have my friends ridiculed by the common soldiery. Anybody else feel like a little giggle when I mention my friend Dickus? What about you? Do you find it risible when I say the name Dickus? Dickus? He has a wife, you know. You know what she's called? She's called Incontinentia. Incontinentia buttocks. Son! What is all this? I've had enough of this rowdy, rebel, sniggering behavior.
Hello. Let me try that again. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Fantastic Comics Presents. This is our 63rd episode, and I have nothing planned, so I'm just going to sell you some funny books, which is what I do anyway, every day, from Tuesday through Saturday, from 12. You know what? I'm going to just do this. There you go. My name is Yule. I own Fantastic Comics in Berkeley, California, and I also do this little YouTube channel. It used to be like the only, well, maybe not the only, but pretty much the only comic store YouTube channel for like a minute. Definitely the only one with a real theme song. So, in the very least, I don't know who's going out there and writing the history books on the whole thing. But thanks to friend of the store, customer of the store, Stephanie, back when we started in 2011, me and my brother and I, me and make video, talk about comic is what we did. And those were pretty fun. And Stephanie did all the editing on her like phone, I think, basically. So this is a little bit more high tech. But you ain't gonna see my face. It's not true. I'm going to, but unless my guest shows up, I put the feelers out there. It'll just be me, and I don't like it because, hey, just filling up the whole screen. I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me in chat what you'd rather see. But there is a reason for me to put on the screen, and I want to let everybody know, and I'll let this person know in chat, or let everybody know in chat who they are who got me this. But check out this Beta Ray Bill action figure. Pretty sweet. It's also got Hulk heads for a Build-A-Hulk figure, but that's pretty sweet. Mint in box, not for long, unless I choose to hang it on the wall, which I do have some things up here. Maybe I'll use my camera to show you someday. Let's say hi to the people in the chat. First up, at 6 o'clock, way before we started, Mr. Irwin was here. Hiya. Hope to see you on Thursday for the Wrestling Council, which is also going to be a live watch of NXT's Stand and Deliver. Yule was here. Hey, Yule, how's it going? Corey, yo. Oh, Fantinuum, yo. Diablo Hashcraft, hi. Yes, sir, totally. Michael Rice. I don't know about Evening Wisdom, but I am going to talk a little bit about some things that are going on in comic books and see if it tickles anybody. But I'll do that with the camera off. And also I'm going to talk about some comic books that I've read, some comics that are coming out, some comics that should be out tomorrow, but probably won't be. And that's another one I should take my face off the camera for. Winging it is what I do best. I don't know if that's necessarily true. It all depends on what I'm doing. Usually if it's bullshitting, then yeah, I'm okay at it. Kenneth Bird, hello. And Lorenzo, yo. Hey, guess what? I'm going to get my COVID shot on Friday. Woo! And I promise not to cry. But it's going to be one of those one and done versions, and that's pretty exciting. Because going back for a second, one doesn't sound like something I really want to do. Getting out of the house to do anything, or even away from work. Not only that, but my brother's getting one earlier in the morning. So he's getting one of two. I hate miniseries. One shots all the way. Yes, Johnson & Johnson. I am related to them, I think. How did I nab that? That's the question. Jill, she's in the other room. She's like looking online, seeing where she can register. And she's like, the church down the street is allowing people to sign up. And she's all, oh, but you're not. And I'm all, oh, I sure am. they open it up to people that just turned, or that I just, of the age of what I just turned. And that's pretty sweet. So I made an appointment. I'm going to go in on Friday. And again, it's the one and done. So that frees me up for a lot of others. Oh, frees me up for WrestleMania this weekend. Woo! I guess I'll get a ticket and go to Florida. Yes, I will get a passport too. I hope that works because I don't know where my birth certificate is and I can't get one of those real IDs. So I hope that would work. I don't know if that's true at all, that these are the best episodes. Wow. That's, you're not supposed to, I don't think that's where the needle's supposed to go, dude. What can I say? All right, let's get me off camera. Oh no, that's not how you do it. Oh, there I am. A few years younger, back when I had the other dog. Good times. All right, let me just run down the shill for the store. We have an eBay listing right now. If you are interested in Captain America and the first appearance of Falcon, you can head on over to our eBay store and make a bid. I think it's also issue 100 of Captain America, which is, I guess, his first issue back as Captain America. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Go to our Instagram. I wanted to coordinate that, but I'm so all over the place and, pressing comics and doing all the stuff at home. And, that's kind of what I wanted a little talk about. I'll turn the camera on for this one more time. So you see back here, all that crap, that's clean. And a lot of the stuff I have is like swirling and eventually going to go to the store. Some stuff I'm working on here. Some stuff is in drawers here because, that's my rainy day comics. Do you have rainy day comics? Do you have more in your collection than you haven't read? Or do you have you read all your comics? Some people do that, I guess. I hear that folks, they often will save comics up and group them up, and then binge them. We've been binging entertainment and comics for a long time before people figured out about it on television. Of course, back in the day, the only way you could watch the entirety of a series is first run. Or, if you get lucky and it got syndicated, because reruns didn't last long enough for you to, there wasn't TV all the time, basically, or streaming services. I mean, can you imagine people are going to grow up not knowing that you can't have basically whatever you watch, and just watch it whenever? That's crazy. And off camera, Deb. Yeah, I run my commercial when I do that. So that's a little giveaway. I need to make some commercials for the store, like, hey, check out this thing I have on eBay, rather than, doing this all at the same time. I read all mine multiple times. Lorenzo, all you buy is Deadpool. I mean, seriously. And I can't believe that, because there's so many Deadpool. Deadpool alone is such a commitment. I used to also read my comics all the time, but I wasted my youth. And it's funny enough, I can't even remember all the time the comics I'm talking about. Case in point, last week here, I'm going to bring this up right now. Let me just, all right, I'm going to share screen. All right, share in screen. Wow. All right, excellent. I'm going to just make sure it's up. There's always a delay on YouTube. All right, excellent. So last week when I was talking with Tim I brought this up, and I think I led the conversation as far as what happened in this issue. Tim was nicely going along, unless he did it, and then he was false. But I think it's my fault. I said that this is the issue where he was like holding a gun at Bullseye's face, and after he like dropped him, after Daredevil dropped Bullseye, after Bullseye killed Elektra, it was a whole thing. But this is obviously the issue where Murdoch, as a lawyer, gets this guy off on murder charges. And Murdoch, who is Daredevil, was using his, radar to try and like sense this guy's, his truth telling. But he wears a pacemaker. Anyhow, this is the issue we were talking about, and this is a very interesting issue. For the most part, Klaus Janson was working with Frank Miller for the entirety of his run, and is supposedly credited as to, really helping Miller along, get him on a monthly basis and all that other stuff. I could be wrong. This was not inked by Klaus Janson. This is inked by Terry Austin, and this is how the book opens up. And since, I talked about it and how strong and important, I forget the issues these days. My father, when he was on 2 weeks ago, was, saying how I could remember all the editor's notes in the book, which would reference other comics, so that I would know that if I wanted the complexity or the complete story with this, this thread, I would have to get that issue. I don't remember the issues that these books are in anymore. Hopefully I can get like a 5-issue grace period, but even this, the issue before that I showed and this one, 5 issues doesn't do it. This is also Frank Miller's last Daredevil issue until he comes back for a little stint. And this is Daredevil addressing Bullseye, who lays in a hospital bed, crippled, never going to walk again, because Daredevil dropped Bullseye from such a height so that he would never do it again. But here he is anyway, with a gun, playing Russian roulette with Bullseye. And there's a whole story that goes along with it. And it's a beautiful scene. I'm going to take a swig here. Look at this page. If this was done by Janson, it might be a whole lot darker. And I don't know. This is good, very good. Probably a lot where Frank Miller is going to later on when he does like Ronin and stuff like that. Here's Matt Murdock at the dinner table with someone he is defending, and his son, who thinks he's Daredevil. He talks about being Daredevil, and his father's like, stop acting crazy. I'm not crazy. And there's a lot of gun imagery. This whole issue is about guns, and it's basically all the stuff that is driving Daredevil to address Bullseye in the situation he's doing. Pulling a trigger to his head, pulling a trigger to Bullseye's head. And Daredevil checks out this kid, and he gives him hope and all this other stuff. But he realizes that the kid has a belief that Daredevil can do whatever he wants because he can do whatever he wants. And that's a problem. And yeah, then in the very next scene, here he is. He's pulling the trigger. Here he is pulling the trigger. And all of this is written not with word balloons or thought bubbles, but in caption. And you kind of wonder whether or not this is him just thinking to himself, or this is what he's said to, Bullseye. Bullseye's just sitting there. Either he's telling him this story and then he's taking a gunshot, taking this chance, or else Daredevil isn't telling him this story. And either way, it's pretty gripping, pretty scary. How would you like to be Bullseye just laying there while this guy's pulling the trigger? And here we see the kid and the defendant, Matt Murdock's client, and there's this whole situation going down. And then, of course, Daredevil gets involved. It gets violent. The kid sees it. And this is like, just everything that drives this kid. He just keeps watching videotape of Daredevil beating up Bullseye, reliving that thing in his head. And eventually one day some kid is making fun of him for his dad being all, busted in jail and everything. And he pulls out a gun and he shoots a kid. And then we go back to Daredevil talking about his father. And his father was this boxer. This is a big old thing about Daredevil, Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock's this blind kid that, well, before he was blind, his father wanted him to make something of himself, be a lawyer. I'll get punched in the head and make the money. You just keep going to school and never get in a fight. Of course he does. And he comes home and his father just whips the shit out of him. So, you got to be a lawyer. Matt, I'm so sorry. And then you go right back into him holding the gun to Bullseye's face. And we find out that the gun has no bullets, but pretty strong. I like that one a lot. And I'm sorry that I got the wrong issue. I like this Daredevil issue quite a bit. This was a strong ending. And, the thing is a lot of times Frank Miller uses Daredevil to just beat the hell out of people to get his way, to get his information. And he's not really... he ain't the coolest dude in the room. Yeah, it's pretty good. I like that one. So I apologize for last week leading you all astray. In light of all the gun stuff that's going on these days, it's nice to remember a time when, although it was very prevalent in the entertainment that we had, especially in like Frank Miller, but the thing is like his superheroes usually aren't strapping. If it's a war story, obviously he will have somebody with a gun, and in the context of a story that totally makes sense. But usually you don't want your hero just like gunning people down. And this is a strong statement, I think, not only for an indictment on Matt Murdock's father, but also how that plays out as his Daredevil character. And it apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And it's nice to see that back then. Frank Miller, we always think that his stuff is like super uber violent. And I don't know, I think it's pretty cool that he had something that was, as a goodbye to the character, at least at the time, something that addressed something that was a little bit more lasting. I think his like war on drugs stuff was a little bit more mired in the 80s. And I don't know. It's interesting. I guess I can lead into this. His stuff was, I don't know, if some of his stuff was very, Reagan, 1980s and the war on drugs and, I don't know, but Frank Miller had a little bit of, satire to him also. Sometimes people do that and you can get away with it. Sometimes you can't. So in the most recent issue of, I'm going to do something here. I'm not going to get into specifics or anything. I'm getting into the concept of storytelling and how lasting the story might be. Case in point, here we have, and I have a very small, recently, this has been making a lot of conversation on websites and social media. And this is I guess we're getting to the culmination of Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America run. We're also getting to the culmination of his Black Panther run. The main villain at the end of this, I guess, is the Red Skull, and I've heard him described as a blogger. And he is inspiring youth and people, I assume white males, because, he is the Red Skull. It gets them all very up and, riled and, on his side, I guess. I don't really know much more of that other than recently Jordan Peterson, I guess, tweeted that they put his words in the Red Skull. And I got to say, regardless, I think I just wouldn't have called attention to it, really, is what it just opens yourself up to too many jokes. But really, as far as writing this, if it is really supposed to be something that is that specific, it's like the difference between, a real well-written novel and then a Dean Koontz novel. He's going to use things that are very much of the time and maybe even more specific to even a smaller amount of time to describe how his character looks, maybe. And if you have no frame of reference of who that person is, it's not a very good that's not a very good description of who that character is. And the Red Skull is a vlogger, I guess. He's on YouTube. I mean, how famous can you possibly get? I mean, it has been said that, YouTube shuts people down on a whim. I really pushed the limit there with all that Monty Python stuff, I think. But they'll kick you off if you have too many things to say about voting. It's happened. I've seen that. I haven't really seen it in action, but I've seen the end result. People crying. That's what it is. People crying. And that's what people are really doing about this. I really think it's nothing other than the fact that someone's calling attention to it. This isn't as egregious as when, I can get a picture for that. Here we go. Oh, okay, let me take that off. Hold on one sec. All right. Oh, I shouldn't do this like this. It's not so egregious as when Marvel did the classic Amy Grant cover on Doctor Strange. And she's like a Christian singer. And she's like, I don't really think I want to be involved with my face in the vampiric verses. Jackson Geis or his brother Butch, either way, that's who did that one. I don't think it's as egregious as that, especially since that's a picture and it looks like her. I don't know. The Red Skull, he has to do what he can to get his grips on the youth of today. Martha Washington. See, there you go. I thought that was a very good series. He was just wrong about the Burger Wars. It's the streaming wars. He had no idea it was going to be that. Now, maybe McDonald's is involved in Netflix, but they better get working because they're getting steamrolled by the Disney machine. And now that even I'm getting vaccinated, people are going to, did anybody, I know Fantinuum did anybody go out there and see in the theater King Kong versus Godzilla? Because I saw that at home on HBO Max, whatever it's called. And that was quite the movie. I've seen reviews of it since then, And it's funny how sometimes reviews will soften how I felt about something. And, if you're not in the right frame of mind, you're not necessarily prepared for this. But I still think King Kong versus Godzilla was shite. But I'm sure that people that want to see that kind of thing are going to love it. I saw it on HBO Max. We have a nice big TV. I'm sure it's not as big as some, but Fantino, you're double dosed, if I'm not mistaken, and knows that nobody's really in the theater out here anyway. But we're opening up. We have baseball. I mean, you can't really tell the difference when it's in Oakland. This is the same crowd that they would have had anyway. So you can't say, oh, the fans are back. And not everybody loves baseball right now anyway. I personally do, and I'm super happy with it. And, I'm not even looking at the game that's going on right now. I'm not even recording it. The last I saw, my team was up. But, it's all right because it's a long season, and you just want your guys to get through healthy. If I was doing a sports show, I would tell you about this guy in San Diego. Maybe Diablo Hashcraft paid attention to this. Fernando Tatis. This guy's like 22 years old. He's like a superstar god in the making and might already be there. And he had this vicious swing last night. And I'm not sure if the bat hit him on the shoulder or that and his swing. He's under evaluation basically. He had to leave the game in the third inning. That is crazy. Almost as crazy as King Kong or Godzilla King Kong versus Godzilla. So there's this Hollow Earth scene and Godzilla or King Kong is just floating through it. And I'm just watching this movie and I'm like, what am I watching? This is ridiculous. And I felt it was a little too long. And I know a lot of people were like, oh, there's a little, once the humans were off, it was great, and I'm like, yeah, you don't really need a very deep premise to get these two to slug it out. But if you're going to surround it with all this other stuff, it should hopefully be something I want to see. And it pretty much wasn't. And it was detracting as far as the movie was concerned. Think about the Yule on movies, old movies, of course, think of Speed. It was like a stupid action movie, but it was pretty flawless. It was all somewhat believable, and at least as far as its world was concerned, you were totally okay with that. You expect some sort of defying of gravity to occur, or anytime explosions happen, it's got to look good for a movie. You don't need to know the reality that you really should be about, a mile away. Snyder Cut was longer. Yule just wanted to see a Woody Allen film. Funny you should mention that. I have talked with Rick Worley, and he is down to do a show for us, with us, and talk about his documentary. I think it's called, I screwed it up. I didn't know I was going to be talking about this right now. But anyway, he's going to be talking about his Woody Allen documentary about him being innocent. Innocent of what? You should check it out. And he even got mentioned in a review when being juxtaposed with the Woody Allen versus Mia Farrow documentary on HBO. And pretty fairly, when you know that most people don't want to even give any credence to someone that's going to potentially be defending a pedophile. but it's funny again that a lot of what he did this quite a few years ago now, and he did this quite a few years ago, and this movie or documentary from HBO is only now out. So he was answering a lot of the questions that they were bringing up then. But there are some things that are brought up in the HBO that Rick didn't have in his documentary that I would love to have a conversation with him about. And, it's, if he didn't watch that, I assume he would have. But if he hadn't, it could be a little gotcha-y. So that would be fun too. Let's get him. But no, I'm a big fan of Woody Allen. I think he's a very good movie maker. I haven't seen everything he's done, and I understand why people wouldn't like it all. I am probably more a fan of his comedy, and maybe his acting, I guess, also. But yeah, he's cool. I think he's a really good filmmaker. He's a filmmaker. He's not just a movie maker. And it just, everything is being used against a person. It's so hard when it's about creativity, because you want to put yourself out there, and maybe you don't. I mean, look at the way he acts. Look at his characters. I mean, everybody thinks he's super neurotic. I mean, I assume he is. He definitely likes to portray that, and maybe that's his mastery. But if any of that is real, and even if it isn't, it's going to be stamped on you as a creator, as an artist. Guns N' Roses and their silliness and their songs, they do the Manson song, and everybody gets up in arms. That's not really even the most artistic thing, that's not pouring your soul out there. But you can get lambasted just for that. And with the way we are these days, and I really think we're always, this way. We love to see our celebrities and our heroes rise and fall and come back again. That's why John Travolta had so many resurgences. I mean, you can count them. They're just amazing. And yeah. Maybe he won't get out of this one, whatever this one is, but he's old now. Maybe he'll finally catapult past Tom Cruise, but we all know that won't happen. He'll never beat Tom Cruise. You could be taller than Tom Cruise, but you'll never be higher than Tom Cruise, if you know what I mean. Let me see. Oh, okay. So I muted it and fast forwarded to monster fights. Loki, the television program that Disney is going to be putting out there. Very interesting. I heard a lot of people are very interested in that. Let's do a few. All right. So a little bit of bad news. Let me put a new banner up also. Yeah, we'll do that one right now. So a little bit of bad news. My brother said that the shipment didn't get to its destination, its final destination. So we may not have books tomorrow. We probably will not have books tomorrow. We do have brand new DC comics that came out, and there are some stuff from last week that you may not have checked out that I can show you. We still have one more issue of Ultra Mega in that is some kaiju monster big style stuff, and I don't know whatnot, but there's a brand new Batman issue, so hooray. Yeah, these are the books that I was looking forward to telling you that we were going to be getting. First up, America Chavez #2. The first issue was quite good. Whoever this Gomez person is, I thought they were very good. Hello, critique this comic. Oh man, all right. Well, don't change the pages right now. All right, so Next up, we have Avengers number 44. This is the conclusion of Enter the Phoenix. It's their finale. I'm not so into everything that's been going on in this. I'm just really happy when it will be over. And I don't buy the comic in such heavy volumes that people are really crying that I don't have it on the shelf when I don't have it on the shelf, or if I do have it on the shelf there. It's one of those books. Now, this is not probably going to be one of those books because Jeff Johns and Gary Frank, who last did Doomsday Clock together, are now doing Geiger for Image. And Jeff Johns' name, speaking of mud being thrown, his name, along with that whole Ray Fisher thing with the whole Justice League and Joss Whedon, well, along with Joss Whedon was Jeff Johns working on that. And I guess they're pretty curt with their actors. Or maybe Whedon is, and Jeff Johns just had, you're talking to a deaf ear here. I'm not Joss Whedon, leave me alone. That's what I assume. But supposedly Jeff Johns had some say in some things that were being floated as far as like the characters. So, people automatically rush to judgment. Nonetheless, Gary Frank's an amazing illustrator, and I think he's doing the comic to the right. Let me take that off really quick. Let's look at this. Critique this comic, Yule. Yeah, this is written by Michael Straczynski? And if this doesn't look good though for Frank. Maybe just that panel. It's a really good book though, if I remember correctly. I really enjoyed it when it was coming out. Anyway, Geiger from Image. This is them not at DC. Hopefully it will come out somewhat frequently. King in Black ends. That is a pretty sweet cover, I will admit. I dig Stegman's artwork, and he does some pretty nice stuff. It's a shame that we won't ever see him on a Marvel book for 12 consecutive issues, probably again, unless it's a 12-issue story, like a maxi series or something like that. We won't. The days of not knowing how long an artist is going to last on a book, like case in point, when you got, I think we talked about this last week, when you got a Spider-Man comic book, you didn't leave, you held on to that you held on to it because you got royalties. It was one of the best-selling books. You made money. These days, to justify people getting money of a certain amount, they have to put them on something that sells. And usually the 11th issue of a comic book doesn't sell that well. So it doesn't justify having the number one artist on it, unless it's part of like a series of 12 or 15 issues. You want to keep some continuity so that, when you put that in a book, it will sell a little bit better. You always want to have your Watchmen moment. This was maybe, I think Gary Frank's had a few Watchmen moments, including Doomsday Clock. His supreme power with Straczynski for the Marvel, was it their Ultimate line or was it their Max? I can't remember. Probably their Max line. That was pretty darn good. And before that, he did a monthly. He didn't used to always be slow, Gary Frank. He used to be quite adept at doing a monthly comic, but his style wasn't as detailed as it is now. But when he was doing Hulk with Peter David, that was some of my favorite stuff. I don't know what this was. Oh, you said the magic word, DC. Fantinium will be there tomorrow. Batman, Batman. I'll show you some of the Batman that came out this week. It's got beautiful artwork, just beautiful artwork. Jorge Jimenez is the illustrator, and he's just amazing. Next up, we have Magic the Gathering, or just Magic. This is written by, I think it's Jeb McKay, and I can't remember what he has. He has some celebrity to him. Anyways, seems to be a fairly okay writer and is probably in it for the long haul to work on comics. So you can start giving him a chance. And Iguara is what I think the person's name is. I could be wrong about the first name. Anyway, I've seen artwork from this, and it does look really good. And if you're into Magic the Gathering and all the planeswalkers in a fantasy setting, especially if you know all the fantasy settings already, you're going to be pretty jonesed for it. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a pretty good series. So if you like fantasy and you can just, forgive all the tapping of mana references, it should be still a pretty good book. Noctera number 2. This is another DC pair of creators, Scott Snyder and Tony S. Daniel, playing their craft over at Image rather than DC. When you say Jeff Johns and Scott Snyder, you're talking about the number 1 and number 2 creators as far as sales on any of their series that they're doing. With whether it be Death Metal or before that Metal or all that Justice League stuff for Snyder, and Tony Daniel, doing Batman and all sorts of crazy stuff for DC, and then Jeff Johns did 3 Jokers, and that was with artist Jason Fabok. And now Jason Fabok's, I think, going to Image to do something. And and Gary Frank. Those are some pretty heavy, crazy, big time creators not working for the companies that they're primarily well known for working at. And maybe Tony Daniel, not so much. And Scott Snyder is always kind of like, vacillated back and forth, but his star was really made at DC. Here we go. Yeah, I don't know what you want me to, I don't want to really read this in front of people. First, every time you intervened to help people out, the people you were protecting were always African American. And the ones doing the attacking were Caucasians. But just down the street from one attack, a young Caucasian woman was being jumped by a Hispanic gang. And an Asian grocer was being harassed by a bunch of street punks. Since you were busy and I was in the... I gotta change that banner. I was in the neighborhood. I took care of it. How did Nighthawk take care of it? Probably destroy. Oh yeah, you can see he's destroying this guy down here, just beating the out of him. Very interesting. A lot of nationalities being described there. It's almost more than I can handle. It's you turn your head around and it's like, what's going on here? I don't know what's going on. This looks like Gary Frank. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Oh, look at this hanging people. Oh my gosh, what is this Klan stuff? Oh my god. I don't think I got this far. This might be volume 2. Holy cow. Man, did you ever see Mississippi Burning? Going back to movies. God, that movie just pisses you off. You just want to beat that out of people. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'm okay with representations of this as far as your villains are concerned, but in comic books, I really think that, again, the Red Skull's got to be over the top Nazi superhero, heavy accent, really comical almost. And he can be scary also, but setting him in the real world and placing him on, somebody else's words, theoretically, I mean, this is what that person said, putting their words into the Red Skull because, you know, it's kind of hip and it's something that's popular now isn't necessarily something that, you know, it's going to be something that you want to read tomorrow. It's not something that you're like, oh my God, you know, remember that time? You're going to look back and you're going to be like, oh my God, they were talking about YouTube like it was the most important thing, you know, or whatever it is. I'm just trying to sell supreme power. But I have to ask, are you really any different than those guys down there? If you only help out one group of people, isn't that a form of racism? I don't know if that is, but definitely if you choose who you're going to help, that really opens up a big Pandora's box of why you didn't help other people. Isn't it better to help out all people in need simply because they are in need? Oh, wouldn't that be amazing? Because we can help. Isn't that what this country is supposed to be all about? Oh, man. Welcome, Bleeding Hot Liberals. It's making me laugh. I don't know. Maybe I can handle this book. Oh, man. Yeah. All right, next page. I'm okay. I can skip ahead. Oh, wait. A little bit more shilling also. Silver Coin comes out tomorrow, but wait until I get it in the store. There's going to be a silver coin that's going to be passed around from issue to issue. It will be different characters in each issue and a different creative team. I think like Erica Henderson and all sorts of other people that are noteworthy at Image Comics for sure are going to be working on this. And I saw some of this one, which is written by Chip Zdarsky. I forget if he's doing the art inside. I can't remember how this team works. Either way, it looked pretty interesting, and it's all about like a rock and roll group that's, you know, trying to make it. Sell your soul to the devil. And Spidey 63, holy cow. I am going to let you guys know about a couple of comic books that I read. And we'll look at what this guy here is. This panel design here is pretty unique. Okay, yeah. Scroll it up just a little bit more. If you're talking about the Welcome to Mars. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, you're talking about this one right here. If my presence in this world has inspired you to do these things, to take action, to live bravely and help people, then I would ask you to follow through and help all the people you find who are in need. Jesus. I don't know the all right. I gotta do this. Hold on a sec. Boom. All right. I gotta share. Boom. All right. So Silk came out last week. If you're a fan of Spider titles, you probably already got this. I have no idea who Marine Goo is. Takeshi Miyazawa, I think, has done other comics that I have read, but I can't quite remember. But the art is pretty nice. And I'm going to show you a page right here. So there's some thieves breaking into this like designer, like, you know, couture outfits. And Silk breaks them up. And it's, you know, a cute little action, her stopping a robbery. And she gets home next morning, or gets up the next morning. She's going to go to work. She got a new outfit as a result of stopping those criminals. It's pretty cool. And what I really want to point out is this characterization of Cindy Moon at what is no longer the Daily Bugle. There is still a Daily Bugle, but that's run by Robbie Robertson. But this is run by, I think, Nora Roberts. It's like, it's like a blog thing, and it's podcasts and whatnot. And J. Jonah Jameson is leading their threats and menaces department. And he got really popular by having a podcast interview with Spider-Man. You check out, if you're a Patreon member of mine, you can check out an interview I did with Spider. I didn't want to tell you who that was. Well, anyway, if you're a Patreon member, you should check out that interview. It's good. It's called Whose Chopper Is This? But it might say Whose Shopper Is That? Because I slipped on the keyboard. This is the whole her work day with J. Jonah Jameson, and then she goes out with her partner and is investigating this murder for their column that they're doing. And then later on, after she got off work, she sees J. Jonah being hassled in the subway. And then Silk goes into action. And then J. Jonah hires her to be his protection. And that's pretty cool. And then Spider-Man, which came out like a week or two ago, this is the real full debut of his brand new costume. And the deal with the costume is that with that J. Jonah promotion, they have a brand new suit that he has, that Peter Parker has as Spider-Man, that will record what he does so that they can get little live look-ins to the action that he has going on. And he can turn it off when he needs to, et cetera, et cetera. He's getting paid money because Peter Parker is broke. He lives with his roommate, which is this dude here, Boomerang, who used to be a villain but isn't because of the whole Captain America being a Hydra agent. And if you don't know anything about that, all you have to know is that Nick Spencer, the writer of this book, did that. And everybody hates him for it. Hates him for it. And I couldn't stand that he was going to be doing Spider-Man, but slowly but surely he's won me over. And this was a really good issue. Gog, this beast, it's like a prehistoric beast that gets big when it doesn't wear this. I'm going to call it an inhibitor collar, which got shot off last issue. Anyway, Spider-Man finally gets it on, and it's just really good artwork by Patrick Gleason. His style isn't as dark as it was when he was doing Batman or any of the Robin stuff he was doing, but still really good layouts. And I think he's a really fantastic illustrator and perfect for Spider-Man. I wish this didn't come out as often as it did. You know, sometimes it comes out like 3 weeks in a row, and then sometimes it's monthly or bi-weekly. It's all over the place. This is a great scene. This is Robbie and his son talking about his girlfriend and his son's girlfriend, and how, he's asking for advice basically. And in waltzes J. Jonah Jameson, and he's very successful. And of course, newspapers are really not successful. And he's like the last of a dying breed, but, he considers himself a real journalist and all this other stuff. Or at least that's how J. Jonah feels. And he gets so indignant. And, he can't stand the fact that Robbie just doesn't want to stoop, even though J. Jonah is trying to offer him a hand up to work with him. Robbie's like, I don't like really doing what you do. And, ultimately the funny thing is like J. Jonah Jameson, the way he used to be in his, Daily Bugle rag, always talking smack. He was writing the first clickbait headlines there ever was. He was ahead of his time, and now he's he hasn't aged, but he he sure is acting the same. Anyway, I really like these interpretations of J. Jonah. The artwork in both books are really good, and the Spider-Man's excellent. If you haven't been getting that, I highly recommend you do. But this issue sold out, so maybe if you ask nice, I might have one at the store. Yeah, that's my Spider-Man Silk review. All right, what is this guy doing here? This is AI is not ready for humanity. This is scary anytime you're doing this. Wow. Okay, very good. All right. Let's see. All right. Yeah, I don't know. This is Patrick Stewart with no hair. Face without hair. Okay. What about do something like no eyebrows or something like that? Something's. Robbie Robertson was good in the band. Is that so? I got to admit, I don't know very many or anybody who's in the band. It's funny, a band called The Band. I don't know what you're doing. I don't get this. I like the other comic book better. All right, very good. So let's see. All right, I talked about. See, the problem is I just don't really focus when I'm. I don't really focus when I'm thinking of doing a a rant. They used to come to me so easily, but I got really cold and I put on this this sweatshirt, and now I'm getting warm. And oh, I know. All right. Lastly, I'm going to not share the screen, but I'm going to talk about this. So this person on Twitter asked in a poll of yes or no, she asked for you to settle an argument. Is Alien a horror film? Give reasons why, please. And then eventually she further elaborates and says, my argument, horror cannot be set in space. Now, I think if I was going to argue this, there would be like a lot of questions I would ask to make them come to that conclusion. And I didn't see any of those things. But I did see a lot of responses, and it is pretty hilarious. So if you are at all interested, you should just, when you go into the search function, just search Alien and horror. Of course, Alien is a horror movie, but if we're talking about Aliens and probably all the other ones, definitely not. Yeah, so like exactly. I mean, Joe, if you say sci-fi horror, I mean, I all right. So horror is the main thing. It's sci-fi as a qualifier. That's all. Yeah, and I saw, and that definitely was something that someone brought up. Jilby Pill, Jason X. So Jason X was trending. This is how I found out about this. Jason X was trending. I was on Twitter, and I'm just like trying to search for stuff, to talk about for the show. So Jason X is trending. I'm like, okay, I'll click on that. And then I find out that someone said that, horror movies can't be in space. I'm like, what? That is so stupid. And then you go and you see all these people that are like talking about it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I don't tweet about this stuff. I'll just come on here and let you all know that it exists. Kind of like what we're seeing here right now. This exists. All right, I'm going to share some Batman pages with you guys. Hold on a second. I mean, this guy who does the art, the guy who does the artwork on this Jorge Jimenez guy, he is just fantastic. I highly recommend his stuff. So Batman is going to soon become a $6 book. If you get the variant cover, which I think are the only ones I have right now. Maybe I have this one right here, this one here right now. It is a $5 book. There is a backup story. This is a lot of the debate going on in the conversation on the prices of comics right now. For the longest time, DC, we joke about it. They held the line at $2.99, but that was a lot of years ago. That was before I opened up a store when they said that. That was over 10 years ago when they said holding the line at $2.99. And they held the line at $2.99. They did a lot of gimmick stuff also. But when they did the new 52, if anybody bought Batman then when Scott Snyder was writing it, they could have an anniversary issue at any time. That'd have been like $6.99, or the 25th issue was $5.99. Or it was the end of a story or the beginning of a story, and it was extra thick. And so DC's been, they've been doing this for a while now, but Marvel's been doing it for longer. Anybody that reads Marvel, and you know who you are, you might only read a couple of titles, but when you have to read an annual or a one-shot that deals with that character, or a mini-series event, that's when Marvel really goes to town. And they went to town anyway a long time ago. They were holding the line at $3.99 unless it was an anniversary issue at $4.99 or a one-shot at $5.99. You always got to be scared. When you see something go up in price, you're like, oh, they're trying to see how much they can get away with on this one. DC's been having these really special anniversary issues that were $9.99. And a lot of times they have a lot of really good artwork in there and a reason to buy it. But $9.99 is, half of the entire story of whatever, story you're reading right now. Not all of that issue is going to be, pertinent to anything that's going on in the now. And unless it is, it's, I don't know. Those $10 books are kind of cool, and they're kind of not cool also. Fantinium can tell you all more about that in the chat. But nonetheless, the backup story is in this book, and there have been wonderful, wonderful, wonderful backup stories in the past. I think about Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil finishing their Green Lantern stuff in the backup, in the Flash comic book. I think of In Flash, Dr. Fate by Keith Giffen, and Firestorm. That's where I read Firestorm before Firestorm could, those were his training wheels, were the backup stories in a comic book. Oh, who really wants to read this Firestorm? Well, nobody, except, maybe that's a reason for someone to actually pick up a comic they might not have wanted to pick up in the past, because there's something new there. And even before that, Archie Goodwin and Walter Simonson, they did Manhunter for DC. And Marvel was always had, basically half the book was one story and half the book was the other. That's why, Captain America didn't have, the first 100 issues. They were in Tales of whatever. Somebody could tell me in chat. But, this is hopefully $6. They've gotten a lot of pushback as far as their $6 book is concerned. I highly recommend picking that up, because when you look at this artwork by Jorge Jimenez, it's pretty good. And he puts a lot of effort into it, and I really enjoy the story that's going on. I have heard people make fun of it, and I totally understand where they're coming from. But as far as reading a monthly, and I want to put the emphasis on the word monthly now, Batman comic book, so you're not reading two $3.99 comic books for $8. You're now buying one for $6. And you're getting more of the story rather than something being stretched out, for a bi-weekly comic book. At least that's how I feel. At least that's how I hope. I hope the writing will reflect this. And for the most part, James Tynion does a really good job on his writing. And he does a really good update or revamp of the Scarecrow character here. And he's always adding new characters. And even if you're a collector just for money, this is always this is a very good, strong book to, buy for multiple reasons. But I enjoy the book. As far as a monthly Batman comic book is concerned, this is one of my favorite runs that I've read. I haven't read all of them, but come on. That's all I could say there. Come on. I like even the layout of how they put their names on the book. It's just it's unobtrusive, and it just feels like, it really flows with what's going on. They're doing the typical newscast thing so that you can get caught up. This is the second issue of this Scarecrow and I don't remember what they're called, the Insanity Collective or something like that. Anyway, Batman's lost almost all his money. He's only a millionaire now, and it's so sad, so sad. He's hunting Gotham for these like fake scarecrows. Oh, you should call them scarecrows. And he gets caught by the police. Renee Montoya, she's now the commissioner. And Batman gets away. Harley Quinn, she's trying to rehabilitate her character. I guess her character. She's trying to rehabilitate her image in the eyes of Batman and the law. Of course, she like smacks this cop who's holding a gun on her. This is really nice looking. I love that Barbara Gordon's back to being Oracle. That was my favorite time reading her. My favorite time of Barbara Gordon was probably, Yvonne Craig in the Adam West book, series. But as far as a character, my favorite was when she was like in a wheelchair and she was like commanding everybody. And, they're kind of playing up the fact that, her back isn't as strong as, she's like overdone it. She can't really go out and just be a superhero. So she has to be back running things again. And it's like, this is good. This is like, Batman is way more dependent. He can't just throw money at everything all the time anymore. And Barbara Gordon's a little sassy. So I know a lot of people I know very few people get really loud about being upset with how sassy she is. But we got to update the people a little bit, just as long, again, as they don't steer too heavily into today. And it can last a little bit longer, Aunt May's always going to be old. I'm not sure if this is the first appearance of this character or what, but this is like after the whole Harley Quinn situation. I took these pictures out of order. Anyway, this is typical Tynan, man. He obviously gets paid by the word. But I just like the layout of the page. It just makes it really easy to read nonetheless. And it's just a good looking book. And then the backup is, again, written by James Tynan, and it's all about Ghostmaker. And this Ricardo Lopez Ortiz is pretty cool. I kind of dig it. There's, an anime manga influence. And pretty cool. All right, that's good. All right. Well, I want to let everybody know what next week is going to bring us. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a guest, but, oh man, I am going to share with you the story of my attempt at breaking into comic books. In fact, I already have on order a book that I worked on that even should have my name in it, just to prove it. And I don't know. It was like a few years. It'll only take probably like 25 minutes. But I'll have screenshots and everything. And I think it should be pretty funny. And telling on why I don't want to do comics ever again. It's so much easier to sell out and just sell them and say, oh, this is good. At least it's got really good artwork. Yeah. But man, when you're eating the pile of crap to make a comic book with people, tell a friend, let them know that a failure is going to tell you about their entry into comic books. I'll let you know about like my con experience. And like I've worked San Diego like in 3 different capacities. Or I've been at San Diego in 3 different capacities. And I'm not talking about like states of inebriation, although those change from time to time, depending on when I'm doing it. But so, there's some comic book stuff. So I've been like collecting these comic books so that I can do this little rundown on like, you know, my past. Oh, that's creepy looking. All right, let's get that up there. That's a good one. Oh man, there are at the arcade that we used to go to as kids. They would have pictures of Motley Crue up there signed to the arcade. It was Kenny Arcade is what it was called. Shout out to all those at Kenny Arcade in Covina. It was Covina, yeah. And they also had a picture of what chewing tobacco does to a mouth. Yeah, I only chewed a little bit, but yeah, not cool. Not cool at all. I didn't play the song or anything. You know what? I'm gonna do this really quick. I'm gonna put the link after the show. I'll put the link in, so I'll do it like tomorrow. But I really want people to know that I guess I really didn't want people to know. I wanted to let people know about where I could be, but you know what? I'm going to talk about it before I do it. So right now I'm going to do this. It is almost the end of the show. What did I want to do? I want to thank my patrons. You can go to Patreon at Fantastic Comics. You can follow the link in the show notes down below. I appreciate everybody for hanging out with me while I was guestless and pretty much aimless, but what are you going to do? No comics tomorrow? Oh, God. There's always something, you know? It's always something. The Wrestling Council is a show I do on the Talkin' Balls Network, which is on YouTube. Talkin', IN apostrophe Vols, AWLS. You know, like the Volunteers of Tennessee, Talkin' Vols. Well, we do a wrestling show. And this wrestling show is going to be airing at the same time as NXT's TakeOver Stand and Deliver Night 2. If you like wrestling, and I mean like, you know, guys that lay it in hard and chicks that do the same, you know, maybe the story about getting to the fight is a little bit more one-dimensional, but you know, you don't get all that extra stuff that makes it stupid all the time. And overall, it's just a real straightforward wrestling show. But these two nights have, oh my God, the ladies and the men, the ladies and gentlemen are going to be kicking ass these next two nights. And this is also WrestleMania weekend. And WrestleMania weekend is like everybody wants to show up WrestleMania because, you know, this is the Super Bowl of wrestling. But these young stars within the company that are in NXT, man, they almost always tear down the house, and now they have two nights, and it's going to be crazy. And I'm going to be doing the live stream of the second night over there on the Talkin' Balls Network. And I think either mine or Comic Book Bob's YouTube channels might be doing night Saturday also of WrestleMania, maybe Sunday, who knows. So follow the Yule Carter channel if you wanna oh no, that's the wrong one. If you want to get more Yule in your life, you can follow me at these different joints. I do Twitter, I do snarky wrestling, and sometimes comic book comments. And I like things, and they don't always mean that I like them. It's just so I can have them in a separate category than the retweets, because it's so hard. That's where I get a lot of these clips, and I got to find them again. So like doesn't mean it's necessarily a like. It just means it piques my curiosity. Yeah, but I don't really care about shilling for myself personally. It's all about the store. And again, all about the patrons that put money towards our existence as a show. We also utilize it for the store. I was going to buy an NFT or try to bid on an NFT with some of the money that we have. But, everybody's either crying about it or calling people stupid for crying about it. And it's just something I don't really want to wade too deep into. It is interesting, though, that my brother said that my other brother was a nutbag, but he's talking about all these chain blocks years ago. And then I guess this whole NFT money situation has something to do with that. I don't know anything, obviously, but if I've hit on any of it, my crazy brother at least knew something about what people were going to be talking about now. And blind acorn and all that. Blind acorn, blind pig. Yeah, hell. So yeah, the wrestling at the Wrestling Council, you could just get on YouTube and search Wrestling Council. But we also have a t-shirt. That's what I was gonna let you know.
What are you wearing, kid? Greenhorn? What are you, blind or something? If you're gonna dress like every other curtain jerker here in Chattanooga, jerking the curtain off the wall and wearing it, this plan's never gonna work. You need to dress more like the swing man with style, class.
Yeah, those are the fine folks at Bonfire. You can check out our stuff over at bonfire.com. There's also a Heel Yule t-shirt, which has me in sunglasses and a Dodger cap. I do not have a Dodger beanie that I really want to wear. I hate doubling up, so I just wore the sweatshirt. Hopefully they're winning, but like I said, it's a long season, just as long as they're healthy, and we keep kicking butt for the most part. Thank you everybody for tuning in to another episode. I appreciate you hanging out. We will probably be guestless next week, but it's going to be highly embarrassing for me as I show you some of my own comic book work, at least a few pages of it. So I'm going to get to scanning, and it's going to be me exposing myself out to the world in a way that I never have before. So do join us next week. It should be fun. Take it easy.